Hello everyone, I am Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, Ambassador Vince Henderson says Dominica does not need electoral reform, but he would support enhancing the process. Ivor Stevenson passes the baton to Greta Roberts, who will contest the Mont Jean River-Zurich seat in the upcoming general election. And the widow of the late Pierre Charles remarries 15 years after the late Prime Minister's death. The details of the news coming up.
Here are some tips to reduce mosquito presence in and around your home. Keep water storage containers properly covered. Remove containers that can collect water from your surroundings. Keep garbage bins tightly covered. Pick up your litter and remove all tires from your yard. Keep gutters free of leaves and twigs to prevent stagnant water. Prevent Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. Fight the bite. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
This message is supported by Flow. First up in the news, Dominica's ambassador to the United States and the Organization of American States has given Dominica's electoral process his nod of approval. Vince Henderson, who is also a former Dominica Labour Party MP for the St. Joseph constituency and current chairman of the DLP campaign committee, made the statement against the backdrop of calls for electoral reform. Henderson says though observer missions to the country have shown that the process is free and fair, there is always room for enhancing the process.
First of all, I depart from my party when they talk about reform. I don't think there is need for an electoral reform. There is need for continued enhancement of the electoral process so that we ensure that as we move as a developing country, that we can enhance greater efficiencies and accuracy in the election process. But every report from every observer group have come to one conclusion, that elections in Dominica have been free and fair. You only fix something that is broken, and I don't even would venture into the reform mode for elections.
Henderson says there are those who give the illusion that there is a dire need for reform, and this is misleading to the public.
People give you the impression that there is something amiss, as if some cocoa macaque took place, something happened that undermined the electoral process. I, as any, well, not just me, the Commonwealth Secretariat most recently looked at it, and in their report that I don't have the liberty to disclose the details of the report, that is to say, who exactly published it on the behalf or who the consultants were, but have come to the conclusion that the election system in Dominica, yes, there are some things that can be done to improve it, but there's nothing amiss with the process. I think we need to be honest with ourselves. The losing parties have always found a problem with the system, the same one that got them into office in 1995. And therefore, I believe if we having an honest conversation on the electoral process, let's talk of enhancing the system, but not giving the impression that it is broken and something was amiss.
General elections are constitutionally due in Dominica in 2020. Former school principal Greta Roberts was launched on Sunday as the DLP's candidate to contest the Mont Jean River-Zurich seat in the upcoming general election. Miss Roberts was launched in her village of Grand Fond, where she told the gathering she felt like greatness had been thrust upon her.
Having been born in Grand Fond and recognizing the need for leadership in this constituency, I proudly yet humbly announce today that I am, without a doubt, the Labour Party's candidate for the upcoming general elections.
Ms. Roberts believes 35 years as a teacher and school principal had laid the foundation for the experience and fortitude needed for her new calling.
Politics, in my view, is an extension of teaching. They both call for building relationships with people, for transforming lives, and for bringing about positive change in people and in communities.
Her mother, Gertrude Roberts, served for 3 consecutive terms as MP for that constituency under the United Workers' Party.
This call for service has spanned many months of reflection and decision-making, especially following the devastation caused by Hurricane Maria. We all remember how this Category 5 monster sent Dominica into intensive care. When everyone thought that this country would have succumbed to its injuries, this government rose to the occasion. I still remember the words of our Prime Minister as vividly as if it were yesterday. 4 words that captured my heart and gave me hope. We are not daunted. With these words, he stabilized Dominica's blood pressure. He lowered its temperature, and in less than no time, Dominica was out of intensive care and back on its feet again.
Meantime, Prime Minister Skerrit has recognized Ivor Stevenson for his contribution as parliamentary representative for Monjon River-Siwik constituency. During his address at the launch of Greta Roberts on Sunday, Prime Minister Skerrit made special mention of the former parliamentary representative's contribution to the party, the country, and of course his recovery.
I shed a tear in bewilderment this evening when I saw Comrade Ivor Stevenson today and reflected on him several months ago, lying motionless in bed in that hospital in Martinique. Many thought and feared the worst, but Almighty God took matters in his hand. And tonight, Ivor Stevenson walked onto this platform to dutifully pass the baton of leadership to his successor. We serve a mighty God, ladies and gentlemen. We do serve a loving and generous God. I wish tonight to publicly salute Ivor Stevenson and to thank him for his yeoman service to the communities of Monjon River-Siwik constituency. I wish to say publicly tonight that this Dominica Labour Party administration and Roosevelt Skerrit as its leader did not turn its back on Comrade Ivor Stevenson in the past, and we will do no such thing in the future.
The Prime Minister said Ivor Stevenson had made way for a daughter of the constituency to contest the upcoming general election.
Greta Roberts is to this community what Roosevelt Skerrit is to the village of Vickers. All that I am, I owe to the Vickers constituency. All that Greta Roberts is, she owes it to the Monjon River-Siwik constituency and to its lovely people. She is a daughter of these communities because she was born and grew up in the service of these communities. Her dear mother, whom I have the greatest respect for, the revered Gertrude Roberts, has an unparalleled record of service to this constituency. The other party will come and they will curse, but they cannot remove the unblemished record of service of the Roberts family to this constituency, ladies and gentlemen. They cannot deny that they did everything in their power to get Greta Roberts to run for them. They cannot deny that they lobbied Gertrude Roberts to persuade her daughter to run for them. They cannot deny that they too consider Greta Roberts to be the ideal person to lead the Monjon River-Siwik Grandford constituency at this time.
And the Electoral Office informs the general public that a critical component of any claim for registration is the residency requirement. The Registration of Electors Act Chapter 203 requires that any citizen of Dominica who submits a claim for registration must have been living in the polling district in which they intend to register for at least 3 months prior to the date of registration. For Commonwealth member state citizens, the requirement is that they be resident in Dominica for at least 12 months and in the particular polling district in which they want to register for at least 3 months prior to registration. These conditions must be met when registering, along with the age required by the Act as 18 or over and citizenship.
Electors must be citizens of either Dominica or any other Commonwealth member state. We want to make it clear that electors can only be registered in one polling district at a time. We are encouraged by the recent influx of claims for registration as an elector, which is an important part of our democracy and the electoral process. We also urge persons to desist from making any false claims. We admonish those persons who knowingly make false claims for the purpose of being registered as an elector. The public is reminded that any person who does this is by law guilty of an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine of $1,500 or to imprisonment for 3 months. The Electoral Office and registering officers have increased their vigilance to guard against any such instances, and the office will work with law enforcement authorities to give effect to the provisions of the law. We urge the public to be guided accordingly and commend our officers at the Electoral Office and around Dominica who have been diligent in carrying out their function.
Young musicians in Dominica have been cautioned to be business savvy during their stint in the industry. Here is Andrea Louis with a report.
The advice from Ricardo James, officer in charge of the OECS Comparative Business Unit, CBU. James was addressing the inaugural OECS Music Talk, which aims to help young musicians within the region realize greater success in the music industry. The first music talk was held in Dominica over the weekend with the aim of hosting a similar forum in each of the other 9 OECS member states. James warned the entertainers that there are challenges in the music business which they must prepare for.
Budding and aspiring artists can get instantly exposed and discovered through social media platforms such as YouTube. The industry, however, is incredibly crowded, complex and sophisticated, and it is sometimes hard to get seen and heard above the noise. Threats such as high rates of piracy and infringements of copyrights of recorded music, as well as the growing digitalization of music, can make it hard to earn the value of your creation. We in the OECS and Dominica must understand the industry, and we must adjust to the new realities.
James says if the right steps are taken, several opportunities will be available for the young artists to benefit in the music industry.
The enabling ecosystem and enabling environment and climate for the industry must be developed and strengthened. This includes placing greater emphasis on artist development, increasing the use of artist management and other professional support services. It also requires attention to the policies, the legislation, regulations, and the institutional framework to support the industry. Notwithstanding those challenges that have been faced in the past, several Caribbean and OECS and Dominican recording artists have been able to survive and have become tremendously successful in what they do.
Meantime, Dominica's Lady of Song, Ophelia Marie, who is also celebrating 40 years in the business, cautioned the upcoming performers that there is a lot of hard work ahead.
Music is teamwork. It is work. It is work. It's a lot of hard work, and it is teamwork. And the artist is just one member of the team. We have to understand, too, that the glamour is not necessarily the success. In fact, it's not the success. That, we have to understand, too, that as much as 70% of what we earn as artists at the front can be or has to go towards paying the rest of the team. Number 4, if you are serious about music business, you must acquaint yourself with how to do the global music industry functions.
OECS Music Talk is the first leg of a 3-phase project expected to end next year. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
You are watching Channel 5 News. We'll have more after this.
maladie HIV et bien maladie sexuelle. Si ou pas protéger corps là ou kan sexe avec plusieurs monde, ça kay mette la vie ou à gros danger. Ou ka exposer toute partenaire au poison et que ça qui ka vini avec maladie. Servez yon condom chaque fois ou kan sexe. Changer qui est important pour découvrir maladie à bonheur ou ça vivre un bon sorti même si ou ni maladie HIV. Pour responsabilité, protéger corps et puis les autres. Examiner corps. Aider du bout si même maladie HIV et l'autre maladie sexuelle.
Here are some tips to reduce mosquito presence in and around your home. Keep water storage containers properly covered. Remove containers that can collect water from your surroundings. Keep garbage bins tightly covered. Pick up your litter and remove all tires from your yard. Keep gutters free of leaves and twigs to prevent stagnant water. Prevent Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. Fight the bite. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
This message is supported by Flow. Thank you for staying with us. The widow of the late Prime Minister Pierre Charles tied the knot on Saturday at the Pointe Michel Roman Catholic Church. The Minister for Youth Affairs and Sports lost her former husband Pierre Charles back in 2004 while he was Prime Minister. The former Mrs. Charles is now Mrs. Revere, married to Deputy Fire Chief Farley Revere. As has been announced by Prime Minister Skerritt, Mrs. Revere will not contest the Grand Bay seat at the next general election. General Secretary of the Dominica Labour Party, Edward Regist, will replace her as DLP candidate for Grand Bay constituency in the upcoming general election. The International Organization on Migration IOM is continuing to look at durable solutions for those living in emergency shelters as the 2019 hurricane season approaches. The IOM is one of many organizations which lent a hand to Dominica in its post-Maria rebuilding efforts. The IOM embarked on a major re-roofing and core house project in 2018, which wrapped up late last year. Team leader of the IOM, Jan Willem Wekdam, says outside of this project, the organization has taken other steps to get people out of emergency shelters.
So in total, we repaired 630 roofs. We strengthened 80 additional ones. There we added some screws to the galvanized so that it was really tight. We built 80 core houses. And in the last few months, we helped another 10 people, that's part of this program, people that were still in the shelters to find some kind of housing. So we built a number of small houses for them. For others, we pay the rent so they can have a rental home for at least a decent period of time. We supported one elderly to go to an elderly home. So we're trying to find tailored solutions to help people move from the emergency shelters into a durable solution, we call it, but basically a permanent home.
As regards the re-roofing project, the IOM would like to continue this line of work as several houses remain without roofs, but funding will be required.
We would like to do more homes or houses, house repairs, building of complete houses, or maybe support the government with the selection of beneficiaries for homes, maybe do community awareness of safe construction skills. Those are things that we are very good at to do. It could also be community buildings. Think of the ones what we are now doing, emergency shelters. We would like to do more. We can also look at school buildings or maybe government buildings to repair some of those. So that's what we're actively talking about.
A segment of the re-roofing and core house project included training young people in basic carpentry. Wegdam says through this project there are now over 100 people now better equipped for roof repair.
In total we trained 170 carpenters, and that's a basic carpentry training. The last trainings of 70 people, we gave them 1 week of classroom training, and then 25 of them, they also joined our construction teams or repair teams on the roof. We're also proud to say that 5 of them were women that were actively supporting the repair process. We would like to do more. We see that there is still an enormous need in Dominica for additional repairs and construction. You do see that there's an increased trend that houses are being built and built now in concrete or in cement blocks. So if we can get the chance to get more funding or to support the government, for instance, in providing trainings for masons, then we're very interested in that.
The IOM has been taking action based on its last survey taken in January, which showed 300 people living in 26 shelters around the country. And 2 vehicles collided in the Grand Savant area Friday night, resulting in an explosion. This meant that commuters were unable to cross for some time. According to the experts, cars bursting into flames after an accident is a pretty rare event. They say an accident or any accident that causes the fuel system to rupture could potentially cause a fire. Petrol or gasoline vapor is highly flammable, and sparks are frequently present in a crash situation with metal scraping along the road surface.
Here are some tips to reduce mosquito presence in and around your home. Keep water storage containers properly covered. Remove containers that can collect water from your surroundings. Keep garbage bins tightly covered. Pick up your litter and remove all tires from your yard. Keep gutters free of leaves and twigs to prevent stagnant water. Prevent Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. Fight the bite. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
This message is supported by Flow. To end the news, a look again at the headlines. Ambassador Vince Henderson says Dominica does not need electoral reform, but he would support enhancing the process. Ivor Stevenson passes the baton to Greta Roberts, who will contest the Mont Jean River-Syriac seat in the upcoming general election. And the widow of the late Pierre Charles remarries 15 years after the late Prime Minister's death. Feel free to contact us at news@mapin2k4.com. You may access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production team, I am Julian Morris. Thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.